The Alpha King's mate stood in the shadows of their bedroom window, watching the man she'd loved for 5 years betray her with another woman. And in that moment of shattering heartbreak, something ancient and furious stirred in her blood. Valentina Noah had always believed she was human, just an ordinary wildlife biologist who'd fallen impossibly in love with a werewolf. But as Dylan Lucas whispered promises of pure-blooded heirs to his new lover, as Valentina's world collapsed into ash and rage, her bones began to crack and reform. The pain was excruciating, transformative, revelatory. Because some betrayals don't just break you, they awaken what was sleeping inside all along. Valentina's hands trembled as she gripped the moss-covered windowsill, splinters digging into her palms. The physical pain was nothing compared to the agony tearing through her chest as she watched Dylan move above Serafina, his powerful body blocking out the candlelight in rhythmic shadows. "You're everything the pack needs," Dylan's voice drifted through the crack in the window, rough with desire. "Pure bloodlines, strong heirs. Serafina, you're what she could never be." Serafina's laugh was like broken glass wrapped in honey. "Say it, Dylan. Say she was never enough." Valentina's vision blurred with tears. 5 years. 5 years of believing she was his everything. His chosen mate. The one who'd stood beside him through pack disputes and territorial challenges. 5 years of learning their ways, adapting to their world, loving him with every fiber of her being. All of it a lie. Welcome back to the channel, my dear friends. Before we dive deeper into the story, kindly click subscribe. Like this video and tell me in the comments which country you are watching from. Your support helps me bring you more thrilling stories, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now let's get into the story. The rational part of her brain screamed at her to leave, to get in her truck and drive until Florida disappeared in her rearview mirror. But her legs wouldn't move. She was frozen, forced to witness the destruction of everything she'd believed in. Dylan rolled off Serafina, and even through her tears, Valentina could see the satisfaction on his face, an expression she'd once believed was reserved only for her. He reached for the blonde woman, tracing patterns on her pale skin. "The council made their position clear at the moon gathering," Dylan said, his voice cold and pragmatic now. "An Alpha King needs a mate who can strengthen the bloodline. Valentina is. She's human, Serafina. I cared for her, but the pack comes first. It always comes first." Cared. Past tense. Something cracked inside Valentina then, a fracture so deep she could feel it in her soul. The tears stopped. The shaking stopped. Everything stopped except for a rising heat in her chest, spreading through her veins like wildfire. She stumbled backward from the window, nearly falling off the porch. Her breath came in short gasps, but not from crying anymore. This was different. This was wrong. Her skin felt too tight, like it was trying to split apart from the inside. "No," Valentina whispered, pressing her hands against her chest. "No, no, no." But her body wasn't listening. The heat intensified, became burning, became agony. She ran, not toward the cabin to confront them, but away into the wild darkness of the Everglades. The humid night air clung to her as she crashed through the underbrush, branches tearing at her clothes and skin. Behind her, she could hear the faint sounds of laughter from the cabin, Dylan's deep chuckle mixing with Serafina's melodic voice. The sounds of two people with no idea they'd just destroyed someone completely. Valentina's legs gave out near the ancient live oak tree that marked the edge of Shadow Creek territory. She collapsed against its twisted roots, gasping for air that wouldn't come. The burning in her chest had spread to her entire body now, a pain so intense she couldn't even scream. Her bones began to crack. The sound was horrific, like green wood snapping in a fire. Valentina's spine arched, her mouth open in a silent scream as her body began to reshape itself. This couldn't be happening. Humans didn't transform. Not without being bitten. Not without the turning ritual that Dylan had always refused to perform. But this wasn't a turning. this was something else entirely. Through the haze of agony, Valentina's mind drifted to her grandmother. Her mother's mother, who'd died when Valentina was just 10. A strange woman who'd lived alone in the deep swamps, who'd smelled of wild things and spoken riddles about blood calling to blood. "You've got the old ways in you, little one," her grandmother had said once, running gnarled fingers through Valentina's dark hair. "When the time comes, you'll know what you are." Valentina had thought she was just a senile old woman. But now, as fur erupted from her skin and her face elongated into a muzzle, she understood. Her grandmother hadn't been human either. And neither, it seemed, was Valentina. The transformation seemed to last hours, though it could only have been minutes. When it finally ended, Valentina found herself on 4 legs, her senses exploding with information. She could hear the heartbeat of a rabbit 50 yards away, could smell the distinct scents of dozens of creatures in the swamp, could see in the darkness as clearly as if it were day. She turned toward the still water beside the oak tree and caught her reflection. A massive wolf stared back at her, easily as large as Dylan in his shifted form. But where his fur was pure white, hers was the color of midnight, so black it seemed to absorb the moonlight. And her eyes, they burned with an inner purple fire that pulsed with each heartbeat. Valentina's wolf form tilted its head, examining the creature she'd become. Somewhere in the distance, she heard a howl. Dylan's wolf calling to his pack. The sound that had once filled her with comfort now made rage bloom hot and fierce in her chest. The beast inside her wanted blood. But the woman, the scientist who'd always relied on logic and reason, that part of her knew she needed to think. To understand what she'd become. Plan. Valentina threw back her head and howled, the sound echoing across the Everglades. It wasn't a call for help or a signal to a pack. It was a declaration. Dylan Lucas had awakened something he couldn't control. And she was coming for him. 3 days. Valentina had been living in her wolf form for 3 days. And the transformation back to human had proven just as instinctive as the shift itself. She'd found an abandoned hunting cabin deep in the Everglades, far beyond any pack's territorial markers, and claimed it as her own. The cabin was sparse, a single room with a rusted bed frame, a wood stove caked in years of grime, and windows so dirty they barely let in light. But it was hers. A place where she could think without the suffocating presence of Dylan's betrayal pressing down on her. She stood naked in front of a cracked mirror she'd salvaged from the debris, studying her human form for changes. Physically, she looked the same. Same dark hair that fell in waves past her shoulders, same olive skin, same lean muscles built from years of fieldwork. But her eyes... Even in human form, there was something different about them now. A purple ring around her irises that hadn't been there before, faint but unmistakable in certain light. "What am I?" she whispered to her reflection. The question had haunted her for 3 days. She'd ransacked her memories for any clue her grandmother might have left, any hint about their bloodline. But the old woman had died before sharing her secrets, and Valentina's mother had refused to speak of her, calling her touched by madness. Maybe she had been mad, or maybe she'd been hiding. Valentina pulled on the clothes she'd scavenged, a too large flannel shirt and jeans she'd found in an old trunk. She needed answers, and there was only one place she could think to look. Her grandmother's old cabin, deeper in the swamps where even the Shadow Creek pack rarely ventured. The journey took most of the day. Valentina traveled in wolf form, finding it easier to navigate the treacherous terrain on 4 legs. Her senses in this form were intoxicating. Every scent told a story, every sound painted a picture. She could understand now why Dylan loved running through the wild, why pack members spoke of their wolves as a gift rather than a curse. But hers was different. She could feel it. Her wolf wasn't just strong, it was ancient, carrying knowledge that felt older than the trees themselves. By late afternoon, Valentina reached the ruins of her grandmother's cabin. 20 years of neglect had nearly reclaimed it, The roof had collapsed, vegetation grew through the floorboards, and wildlife had made homes in every corner. But the stone fireplace still stood, and behind it, Valentina remembered, there had been a hiding place. She shifted back to human form, ignoring the always uncomfortable sensation of bones rearranging. Her fingers found the loose stone exactly where she remembered it, and behind it, wrapped in oilcloth that had somehow survived the decades, was a leather-bound journal. Valentina's hands shook as she opened it. The pages were filled with her grandmother's spidery handwriting, entries dating back over 60 years. She skipped through the early pages, mundane records of daily life, until she found an entry from 1985, the year before Valentina was born. The Crane pack came today. Their alpha, Richard Crane, wanted to discuss the rumors about my bloodline. I told him what I tell everyone, that I'm just an old woman who prefers solitude. But he knows. They all know. The Shadowborn don't die out just because people stop believing in them. He threatened me in that polite way alphas do. Said that if the old bloodline started waking up, it would disrupt the balance of power they've built. Said that my granddaughter, should she ever exist, would be better off never knowing what runs in her veins. I should have challenged him right there. Should have shown him what a true Shadowborn can do. But I'm old and tired, and the thought of my bloodline dying with me. Perhaps it's for the best. The werewolf packs have grown comfortable in their hierarchy. They won't like being reminded that they weren't the first shifters, and they certainly aren't the most powerful. Valentina's breath caught. Shadowborn. The word resonated in her chest like a bell. She flipped through more pages, finding sketches of wolves that looked like her, massive creatures with dark fur and glowing eyes. Her grandmother had drawn them obsessively, along with notes about abilities that seemed impossible even by werewolf standards. Shadowborn are born, not made. We don't need the bite or the turning ritual. Our wolves sleep until awakened by extreme emotion, usually rage or grief. Once awakened, we are faster, stronger, and far more dangerous than common werewolves. We can also. The rest of the sentence was water-damaged, illegible. Damn it, Valentina muttered, carefully turning pages to find more information. Another entry, this one from 1987. I saw my granddaughter today, Valentina. She's almost 2 years old, with her mother's beauty and her father's stubborn streak. But when she looked at me, I saw the purple flash in her eyes. The mark of the Shadowborn. My daughter doesn't see it. She's convinced herself that my blood runs too thin in her veins to matter. But Valentina, she'll be powerful. More powerful than I ever was. I pray she never needs to become what she is. But if the time comes, if her heart breaks badly enough or her rage burns hot enough, she'll understand. The wolf isn't a curse, sweet child. It's vengeance with teeth. Valentina closed the journal, pressing it against her chest. Vengeance with teeth. Her grandmother had known, had predicted this exact moment in a way. A branch snapped outside the ruins. Valentina's head whipped up, her wolf surging just beneath her skin. She could smell them now. 3 werewolves approaching cautiously through the underbrush. The scents were familiar. Shadow Creek pack members. She tucked the journal into her shirt and shifted, her transformation taking only seconds now. By the time the 3 wolves emerged into the clearing, she was standing in her Shadowborn form, purple eyes blazing. The largest wolf, Jackson Dillon's beta, stopped short, his hackles raising. The other 2 flanked him, their postures aggressive but uncertain. Jackson shifted to human form, unconcerned with his nudity in the way werewolves never were. Valentina. Is that? How is this possible? That's what I'm trying to figure out, she growled, her wolf's voice deeper and more resonant than any werewolf's. Dillon wants to see you, Jackson said carefully. He's been searching for 3 days. He's worried. Worried. The word came out as a snarl. Tell me, Jackson, did he mention why I might have disappeared? Did he tell the pack what he was doing while I was gone? Jackson's expression flickered. Guilt, shame, something that might have been sympathy. That's between you and the Alpha. There is no me and the Alpha anymore. Valentina took a step forward, and all three wolves instinctively backed up. She could feel the power radiating from her, could sense their fear. But you can tell Dylan I'm coming. Tell him the human he betrayed isn't so human after all. Valentina, please. Go! Her roar echoed through the swamp, sending birds erupting from the trees and small creatures scattering in terror. The three wolves didn't need to be told twice. They shifted and ran, disappearing into the undergrowth. Valentina stood alone in the ruins of her grandmother's cabin, the journal pressed against her furred chest, and smiled a wolf's smile. Let Dylan worry. Let him wonder what he'd created. The beast was awake now, and she was done being the victim in her own story. The Shadow Creek packhouse looked exactly as Valentina remembered, a sprawling lodge built from cypress wood, nestled among live oaks dripping with Spanish moss. She'd once thought of it as home. Now, standing at the edge of the tree line in human form, it looked like enemy territory. She'd spent the past 2 days preparing for this moment, reading every page of her grandmother's journal, practicing her shifts until they were seamless, learning to harness the raw power that thrummed through her veins. The Shadowborn weren't just stronger than werewolves. They were faster, more agile, and according to her grandmother's notes, nearly impossible to kill. Valentina had also made a discovery that changed everything. Shadowborn could force other wolves to submit through sheer presence alone. It was an ability that had made them feared and respected in the old days, before the werewolf packs had grown dominant and driven them into hiding. Tonight she would test that theory. The pack was gathered for their weekly meeting, she knew. Dylan would be in the Great Hall, surrounded by his most loyal members, including Serafina, no doubt, already playing the role of future Alpha Queen. Valentina walked up the front steps, not bothering to hide her approach. The 2 guards posted at the door, young wolves she'd once taught to track, stepped forward to block her path. Valentina. The younger one, Tommy, looked confused. We thought you'd left. Move. She didn't raise her voice, but power rippled through the single word. Both guards stumbled backward as if physically pushed, their wolves cowering inside them. Tommy's eyes widened in shock. What are you? He whispered. Something your Alpha should have considered before he betrayed me. She walked past them into the lodge. The Great Hall fell silent as she entered. Dozens of pack members turned to stare, their conversations dying mid-sentence. At the far end of the room, Dylan stood from his chair. His throne, really. His face a mixture of relief and confusion. Val! He started forward, but froze when he saw her eyes. Even in human form, they glowed with that unmistakable purple fire. What happened to you? Serafina appeared at his side, her hand possessively on his arm. She was beautiful, Valentina had to admit, all blonde perfection and icy confidence. This is pack business. You're not welcome here anymore, human. Valentina laughed, the sound sharp and dangerous. Human? Is that what you think I am? She let her power loose. Just a fraction of it, but enough. Every wolf in the room took an involuntary step back, their animals recognizing something more dominant, more primal than even an Alpha King. Several of the younger wolves actually dropped to their knees. Dylan's eyes widened. Shadowborn, he breathed. That's impossible. They died out centuries ago. Apparently not. Valentina walked forward, and the pack members parted before her like water. Surprise, Dylan. The human you discarded for pure bloodlines. Turns out my blood is purer than anything in this room. Older. Stronger. She could see the wheels turning in his head. The political implications, the power she represented, the monumental mistake he'd made. "Valentina, please let me explain." "Explain what?" She stopped a few feet from him, close enough to see the panic in his eyes. "Explain how you betrayed 5 years of love for political expediency. Explain how you whispered promises to another woman in our bed. Explain how you called me inadequate while I stood outside our window and listened." The pack members murmured, shocked whispers spreading through the hall. Many of them hadn't known the details of Dylan's betrayal. Serafina stepped forward, her confidence wavering but not broken. "The council demanded pure bloodlines. An alpha must think of his pack." "The council," Valentina interrupted, turning her burning gaze on the blonde woman, "can go to hell. And so can you." What happened next happened fast. Serafina's wolf surged forward, a defensive instinct, an attempt to assert dominance. She shifted mid-lunge, her white wolf form magnificent and deadly. Valentina didn't even move. Her shadow-born power exploded outward like a shockwave. Serafina's wolf was thrown backward, slamming into the wall with enough force to crack the wood. She slumped to the ground, shifted back to human form, unconscious but breathing. The entire pack dropped to their knees, heads bowed in submission. Even Dylan, though she could see him fighting it. His alpha will battling against her shadow-born dominance. "I came here for answers," Valentina said, her voice echoing in the suddenly silent hall. "I came to understand why the man I loved threw away everything we had. But standing here, seeing all of you bow before pure bloodlines and political power, I realize something." She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of pack members who'd once been her friends. "You're all cowards. You let traditions and hierarchies dictate your hearts. You choose power over love, status over loyalty." Her gaze settled on Dylan, still on his knees, his face twisted with shame and regret. "I loved you," she said softly. "I would have done anything for you. But you couldn't see past what I appeared to be to what I actually was." "Valentina." His voice broke. "I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please." "No." The word was final. "You made your choice, Dylan. You chose Serafina and her pure bloodlines. You chose the council's approval over my heart. And you know what? I'm grateful." She smiled, and there was no warmth in it. "Because your betrayal awakened something you can never control. It freed me from a life of being less than in a world that should have bowed to me from the beginning." Valentina turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Dylan, if you or any member of your pack ever comes near me again, I won't be as merciful as I was tonight." She walked toward the door, and the pack remained frozen, unable to move until she was gone. Valentina ran through the Everglades in her wolf form, letting the night air cool her rage. The confrontation had been satisfying, but it hadn't brought the closure she'd hoped for. Seeing Dylan on his knees had felt powerful in the moment, but now, alone under the stars, she just felt empty. She'd spent 5 years loving him, 5 years building a life. And in 3 days, it had all turned to ash. The shadow-born power thrummed through her, wild and ancient, but it couldn't fill the hole his betrayal had left. Nothing could. She was so lost in her thoughts that she almost didn't notice the scent. Another wolf, but not from Shadow Creek Pack. This one was unfamiliar, though something about it made her pause. Valentina slowed, her senses on high alert. The wolf emerged from the palmetto scrub ahead, a large male with silver-gray fur and eyes the color of storm clouds. He stopped when he saw her, his posture non-threatening but alert. They studied each other for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, he shifted to human form. The man was probably in his mid-30s, with dark hair silvered at the temples and a face that spoke of both strength and kindness. He was lean and muscular, dressed simply in jeans and a faded t-shirt he must have carried in his mouth while running. "Forgive the intrusion," he said, his voice carrying a slight accent she couldn't quite place. I'm Kieran Wolf. I've been tracking you for 2 days. Valentina shifted as well, grateful she'd learned to stash clothes along her frequent routes. She pulled on the shorts and tank top she'd hidden in a hollow tree. That's either very brave or very stupid, given what happened at the Shadow Creek Lodge. I heard about that. Kieran smiled slightly. The whole region heard about it. A Shadowborn revealing herself, throwing an Alpha's chosen mate through a wall, making an entire pack submit. That's the kind of news that travels fast. And yet you came looking for me anyway. Because I knew what you were the moment I picked up your scent. He took a careful step closer. I'm a historian, Valentina. I study the old bloodlines, the original shifter families. I've spent 20 years researching the Shadowborn, and I never thought I'd actually meet one. Despite herself, Valentina was intrigued. What do you want? To help you understand what you are. To teach you the things your grandmother couldn't. Kieran's expression was earnest. The Shadowborn weren't just powerful, they were protectors. Guardians of balance between the human and shifter worlds. Your grandmother was right to hide you, but now that you're awakened, you need to know your true history. Over the next few hours, sitting by a small fire Kieran built, Valentina learned more about herself than she'd ever imagined. The Shadowborn had once been revered, serving as neutral parties in pack disputes, protecting humans from rogue shifters, maintaining the secret of their kind. But as werewolf packs grew in power and number, they'd seen the Shadowborn as threats to their dominance. Most were killed in what the packs call the cleansing, Kieran explained, his voice heavy with old grief. A coordinated effort by the major alphas about 300 years ago. The few who survived went into deep hiding, breeding with humans to dilute their bloodlines and escape detection. Like my grandmother, Valentina said quietly. Like your grandmother. But the blood doesn't disappear. It just sleeps, waiting for the right moment to wake up. He looked at her with something like awe. You're probably the first fully awakened Shadowborn in over a century. Lucky me, she said dryly. Kieran laughed. I know it doesn't feel like it now, but you are lucky, Valentina. You have a gift most shifters would kill for. The question is, what will you do with it? It was a question she'd been avoiding. What did she want? Revenge had sustained her through the past few days, but it felt hollow now. She couldn't spend her life punishing Dylan for his mistakes. I don't know, she admitted. I'm a wildlife biologist. I study ecosystems and conservation. I'm not some warrior or guardian. Aren't you? Kieran's eyes were knowing. You've spent your career protecting wolves, preserving their habitat, fighting for their survival. That sounds like a guardian to me. Valentina opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. He was right. She'd always been a protector. She just hadn't realized it extended beyond her professional life. The packs are changing, Kieran continued. Younger generations are questioning the old ways, the obsession with pure bloodlines and rigid hierarchies. They need someone to show them a different path. Someone who can't be intimidated by alpha politics. You're suggesting I become some kind of... What? Shadowborn advocate. I'm suggesting you become yourself. Fully, completely, without apology. Kieran stood, offering her his hand. And I'm offering to help you learn what that means. Valentina looked at his outstretched hand. This wasn't romance. Kieran was offering mentorship, friendship, a path forward. After 5 years of defining herself through Dylan's world, the chance to discover her own identity was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. She took his hand and stood. Okay, teach me. 6 months later, Valentina stood in front of a gathering unlike any the shifter world had seen in generations. Representatives from 12 different packs had come to the neutral territory she'd claimed deep in the Everglades, a place where old hierarchies held no power and new possibilities could take root. She'd spent the past months traveling, learning, growing into her Shadowborn heritage under Kieran's guidance. She'd also been building something new, a coalition of shifters who believed the old ways needed to change. Younger pack members tired of arranged matings and bloodline politics. Outcasts who'd never fit the rigid pack structures. And yes, even some humans who'd been brought into the shifter world through love like she'd once been. Dylan had tried to contact her 7 times. She'd ignored every attempt. But today he was here. She could sense him in the crowd. His white wolf unmistakable even in human form. Serafina wasn't with him. Word had traveled that she'd returned to her father's pack after Dylan had called off their arrangement. Apparently, discovering that his human mate was actually a Shadowborn had shifted his perspective on bloodline purity. Too little, too late. Valentina stood on a natural platform of limestone, addressing the gathered shifters. For too long our communities have been ruled by fear, she said, her voice carrying across the clearing. Fear of humans discovering us. Fear of losing our bloodlines. Fear of change itself. But fear makes us weak. Makes us cruel. It makes us sacrifice love for politics and hearts for hierarchy. She saw heads nodding, heard murmurs of agreement. I'm not here to overthrow the packs or challenge the alphas. I'm here to offer an alternative. A place where shifters can come to resolve disputes without violence. Where mixed bloodlines are celebrated rather than scorned. Where love matters more than lineage. Movement in the crowd caught her eye. Dylan was pushing forward, his face desperate. Valentina, please, he called out. Please, just listen. No, Dylan. You listen. She fixed him with her purple-eyed gaze, and he stopped as if he'd hit a wall. 6 months ago you had a choice. You could have chosen love. You could have trusted that what we had was stronger than politics. Instead you chose fear and tradition. I know, and I've regretted it every single day. His voice broke. I was a fool. I let the council manipulate me. Let my fear of seeming weak override everything I felt for you. But Val, I love you. I've always loved you. And if you'll give me another chance. A chance to what? Valentina's laugh was bitter. To prove you won't betray me again. To show me that now that I'm revealed as a Shadowborn, now that I have power and status, suddenly I'm good enough. That's not. It is, though. She descended from the platform, walking toward him until they stood face to face. The crowd had gone silent, watching this very public confrontation. You didn't love me enough when I was human, or when you thought I was human. You loved what I could become once I fit your world's definition of worthy. Dylan's face crumpled. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I threw away the best thing in my life because I was too blind to see what was right in front of me. For a moment, Valentina felt a flicker of the old feelings, the memory of 5 years of love, of laughter, of nights spent wrapped in his arms. But it was just a memory. The woman who'd loved Dylan Lucas had died the night she'd watched him betray her. I forgive you, she said quietly, and meant it. I forgive you because holding on to anger would only poison me. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation, Dylan. You taught me that I deserve better than someone who needs me to be powerful before he can value me. She turned away from him, back to the gathering. This coalition isn't about revenge or resentment. It's about building something better. Something based on respect, choice, and genuine connection rather than duty and dominance. Kieran stepped forward from the crowd. His gray eyes warm with pride. Over the past months, he'd become her closest friend, her mentor, and, though she'd been cautious to acknowledge it, something more. He'd seen her at her worst and helped her become her best. He'd never tried to control her power or diminish her strength. He'd simply stood beside her, an equal partner in building this new vision. The Shadowborn weren't meant to rule, Kieran said, addressing the crowd. They were meant to guide, to protect, to maintain balance. Valentina has embraced that role, And in doing so, she's given all of us permission to embrace who we truly are, rather than who tradition says we should be. The gathered shifters erupted in howls of approval, a sound that resonated through the Everglades and sent birds scattering from the trees. Valentina looked out at the faces before her, young and old, strong and vulnerable, from a dozen different packs and bloodlines. This was her purpose. Not revenge against Dylan or dominance over the packs, but this, creating space for others to be fully themselves. Later, as the gathering dispersed and shifters mingled in the neutral territory, Kieran found her sitting by the water's edge. "You did well today," he said, settling beside her. "We did well." She smiled at him. "I couldn't have built any of this without you. I just pointed you in the right direction. The power was always yours." He paused, then added carefully, "Dylan left. He looked broken." "I know." Valentina watched the sunset paint the water gold and crimson. "Part of me will always care about him. But I'm not the woman he fell in love with anymore. That woman died the night she transformed. And who are you now?" She considered the question. 6 months ago, she'd been lost, defined by betrayal and rage. But now, "I'm Valentina Noah, Shadowborn, Protector, Coalition Builder. I'm someone who chooses love on her own terms, who values loyalty over lineage, who believes broken hearts can heal into something stronger than they were before." Kieran's hand found hers, and she didn't pull away. This wasn't the desperate, all-consuming passion she'd had with Dylan. This was something steadier, deeper, built on mutual respect and shared purpose rather than intensity alone. "For what it's worth," Kieran said softly, "I see you. Not your power or your bloodline or your political value. Just you. And you're extraordinary." Valentina leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling something in her chest that wasn't quite healed but was definitely healing. "Thank you for finding me in the swamp that night. Thank you for letting me stay." As the Florida sun set over the Everglades, painting the sky in shades of purple that matched her eyes, Valentina understood something profound. Dylan's betrayal hadn't destroyed her. It had freed her. Freed her from a life lived in someone else's shadow, from love that was conditional on her being less than she was. The beast Dylan had awakened wasn't just a wolf. It was her truest self, powerful and uncompromising and finally, beautifully free. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. Not making him suffer, but building a life so fulfilling that his betrayal became just a chapter in her story rather than the whole book. Somewhere in the gathering darkness, a wolf howled, not a call to pack, but a song of individual strength. Valentina smiled and howled back, her shadowborn voice carrying across the wild land she now called home. She was exactly where she was meant to be. If you enjoyed this video, kindly subscribe to this channel. Also, don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comment section. Also, tap this video showing on your screen to see what happened in this werewolf fantasy story.